Welcome to Full Scope, a sports podcast that discusses various sports topics and various issues that are at the forefront of sports. I'm your host, Wellington Burns, along with my counterpart, Savon Morris. And we weren't able to do it last week. You had something to come up, and obviously with the holiday. But I mean, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was great, man. Hung out with family. Family and friends came in. We had a feast, but it was a good experience, man. It's always good to be around family.
Yes, that's always good. And in sports, it was it was a pretty interesting week in college football. Auburn had a huge win in the Iron Bowl against Alabama, beating them 26-14. And the to me the score didn't even really indicate how much Auburn dominated that game. They really controlled the line of scrimmage. Um, Skidham had a really good passing game. Kerryon Johnson was effective, not as much as he, usually is due to the, injury, but still had a pretty good game. So what were your thoughts on the game?
I thought that before going into the game, before even watching the game, I thought Alabama was going to pull it off. Let's put that out there right there. I thought Alabama's rush offense would at the end of the day they couldn't stop Auburn couldn't stop it. Well, it was mixed now. Auburn did, have big plays on the defensive side, but I think Alabama went away from the run too soon. They wasn't utilizing Jalen Hurts to his abilities. We all know that Jalen Hurts is not a passing quarterback. He makes plays with his feet. I don't think they gave him any plays to allow that to happen. I think they ran three read option plays. I think one was a successful. The other two was stopped in the backfield. Scarborough had a decent game. I mean, I just saw a matched up. They were matched up pretty well. I'll say that they were matched up pretty well on offense and the defense side. And I think Stidham had a better game than Jalen Hurts, and I think that's what pushed them over the top just a little.
Yeah, most definitely. And to me, like, we can't really say that Alabama ever makes mistakes that beat themselves. And we kind of saw that. The two bad snaps and fumbles, and then the
Yeah,
offsides on fourth down. It was just like it was a string of uncharacteristic mistakes that Alabama was making, and they actually were. Auburn definitely was the better team, but Alabama was contributing to even more of the deficit.
I think so too. You don't see Alabama making those mistakes. They rarely make mistakes. They're very polished on offense and defense. Defense was on the field way too long, just like the Clemson game in the national championship last year and the year before that. So when you leave your defense on the field that for that long of a period, it kind of wanes on them. And I think that's what happened. And instead of having a great game in the passing game, and then Johnson, contributing in the running game. I mean, yeah, I thought both the teams were heavily matched. And I think it was the quarterback play that kind of made the difference in the sloppy play of the center in the quarterback exchange.
Yeah, and it was definitely. I mean, Auburn has had two of the most impressive wins in the last 3 weeks, beating number one Georgia and then number one Alabama. So it was a very impressive win. Transitioning to the Ohio State Michigan game, Michigan was up for you know they were up two possessions in the first part of the game, up 14-0, and then JT Barrett goes out, and the backup quarterback comes in and does a pretty good job, and Ohio State it goes on to win 31-20. So, what were your thoughts on a win that Ohio State needed to stay in the college football playoff race and going into their Big Ten championship?
They desperately needed it. Uh, because we kind of talked about it the week before for last week that things can get interesting, and now Wisconsin is right there, and I think Ohio State needed to win. I think they can beat. I know I'm moving ahead probably, but I think they can definitely beat Wisconsin, and I think this is the step before. Can we win without our starting quarterback? Can we win without a vital piece? And I think they've proven that going and outscoring Michigan 17-6 in the second half. And I think that's defense stepped up. Uh, Haskins, backup quarterback, comes in. He had to have a big game. He's a backup. We didn't expect him to have a big game. And he threw for 94 yards, but he did what he had to do. I think the running game was very polished before it. especially when before JT went out, he had a score and Dobbins had a score. So I mean, they desperately needed this win to continue on. So if they beat Wisconsin and other teams lose, it's going to be an interesting race to the playoffs.
Yeah, most definitely. And so with Ohio State, um, how much of the JT Barrett situation, with his knee? I mean, obviously, he's gonna play in the Big Ten championship, but how much do you think that's gonna be a factor, or do you think he'll be able to manage that injury?
If he can't go, it's going to be. I think it's going to be extremely difficult for the offense to function. And I mean, you look at Dwayne Haskins. That's his name, number 7. He hasn't had that much playing time, and in the 8 games he played, 57, 40 for 57, 1 interception, 4 touchdowns. He sacked 3 times. His rating is 173.1. That's pretty decent for a backup quarterback, but can he be that guy in the offense that they need? Wisconsin is not an extremely big team. They didn't have a big schedule, a strength of schedule this year, like they always do. They don't really have a big schedule. So now I think they can beat. I think they can beat Wisconsin. Just
Yeah,
giving the background and the defense, and I don't know. The backup quarterback Haskins doesn't have to do much. He just has to manage the game just like JT does. JT is a great time manager. He doesn't make big mistakes often. He doesn't take risks. So I mean, yeah, I think they'll be fine.
yeah, and even at the beginning of the season, we thought this was probably one of the best defensive lines in the country, and when they play to that level, they're going to be very tough to beat. And I think, yeah, I mean, to me, I feel as though they're going to beat Wisconsin, and JT Barrett is gonna have an efficient game. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Um, Dealing with, were there any other? Well, Miami lost.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah, that that, that
That's
that's
big.
that's
And
a pretty.
now, man, it's getting really, really interesting
Yeah,
because Miami plays Clemson, and then Auburn rematches with Georgia, and then you have Wisconsin, Ohio State, and then you got Bama on the outskirts, hoping somebody loses. And
yeah.
it's gonna be it's gonna be interesting. You have
This is the part of the
Oklahoma, who
season that is the most, where it gets really the madness heightens, and it gets really unpredictable.
it does because Clemson is sitting at 1, Auburn's number 2, Oklahoma's number 3, and Wisconsin's number 4. So man, I love this time of the season. Like
Yeah,
this, I think this is the first. Well, can I pose this question? I know it's not into the itinerary for the today's podcast.
yeah.
Do you think they should lengthen or add an 8 game playoff series?
That was yeah. This is becoming a very hot button topic because somebody is going to be a little. Their feelings are going to be hurt at the end of the season because they're going to feel like they should have been in the playoff.
Right.
Last season we saw it with Penn State. They won the conference championship. They were able to. They even beat Ohio State, and Ohio State still gets in over them. And that was and we saw what happened with Ohio State and Clemson. So I think those factors are very understandable to lengthen it and expand it. But I think 4 teams is is an upgrade, and it you're never going to be fully satisfied with the expansion. But look, a team like UCF, some people are like, hey, maybe this is a team that we'd like to see if things go a little haywire with maybe a couple teams expected to win actually lose. But for me, the four teams is perfect. It really does meet the barometer of what we need in college football right
I see. I'm pro 8 games
now. Okay.
for a couple of reasons. Like you said, it gives other teams opportunities, like a team like UCF, who's doing pretty good and is trying to prove himself. People, teams like TCU, or if Oregon comes back next year and be successful, like teams like that, or a team like Wisconsin who has a weak schedule, and then they don't have to really fight. They're undefeated, don't really have to fight to get into the playoffs. So I think it will be a great opportunity for teams, smaller teams, and as well as the NCAA. Now you get more viewers, you get more money, you get more attendance, you get more, I guess, fairness,
Yeah.
if you will. Because I remember one year, I think that was, I believe it was 2013, when Alabama LSU ended up in the national championship, and both teams had a loss, and one team lost. The LSU lost to Alabama, and then ended up losing to Alabama again in the national championship.
Yeah.
So, and then people's like, oh, that's not fair. How do those teams get in the SEC? And now, I mean, the playoffs is still fairly new. The CFB the college football playoffs is fairly new. It started in 2014, I believe. So I think they're going to prove that. I think this is a trial and error time. And if they do move to 8 games, I wouldn't be mad. I think it was a great idea. But if they stayed to 4, because everybody was against the college playoffs at first. It was like, whoa,
But
now
this is
leave
the
it in the
thing.
hands.
Do you
Yeah,
want a computer to control that? Like, do you,
true. I mean,
you know what I
yeah,
mean? Yeah. Do you
yeah.
really want a computer to control the final two teams to get in? That's my take on it. I feel as though I think having a committee of 13 people who can make reasonable decisions is better than what we had in
Yeah,
the BCS.
yeah, true. But
So
I thought that would be a good question to ask.
yeah, definitely, and it's gonna be interesting to see how things develop this weekend. Um, with the coach, there were a lot of new coaching moves in college football, and two of the biggest was Dan Mullen and Chip Kelly. Dan Mullen going to Florida and Chip Kelly going to UCLA. Those are very high profile names going to established colleges. Um, which one, was maybe bigger to you in terms of the implications for the teams?
I think I guess I'll start with Florida because I'm a home kid.
Yeah,
Uh, Dan Mullins is familiar with the organization and with the team and what they want and how they want to win. I think that he's going to spread them out. I think he's going to be a good addition because he's already helping the recruiting process. Even he came in a little late, so they're trying to scramble to get players and try to go out and get players and offer people and make sure our commits already are still okay. You don't need to decommit because I think his offensive mindset and the defensive mindset he brings. I mean, when he was at Mississippi State, the defense was never dominant, but the offense is always good and sustainable. And they made runs with Dak, and they started to run now with Fitzgerald that won 8-4. But I think Dan Mullins can bring that fountain of youth back to Florida. The go Gator kind of mindset and mentality that we used to have in '08 and '06 and the times when Tebow and Urban Meyer was there. But I think he'll be a good addition. He's come back home. He seems excited. So
yeah.
with Chip Kelly, I think his style of play is he's going to kind of shift because I think UCLA at one point ran the pro set, and I think now they're more of a spread. So I think he just signed a freshman running back who's like 5 stars. So his recruiting cycle is off the charts as well.
Yeah,
I think UCLA is going to change to a fast paced offense like we've seen in Oregon with Philadelphia, not so San
it's gonna
Francisco
be fun.
49ers.
It's gonna be
Yeah,
fun seeing that team because we saw what he was able to do with uh, Oregon in the Pac-12, going 46-7 his time
yeah,
there, and just how he revolutionized, the offense in that program. And I think it's just perfect for him because when I heard Florida or UCLA, I thought UCLA because it's from the Pac-12. That's a system he likes.
right.
Uh, Florida is kind of high risk, high reward. He would have been ultimately, you know, judged to a certain standard. With UCLA, he has more time and he's in an environment that
Is
he's
more
he's more akin to
weaker,
you.
to be
Right.
honest. Let's
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, those were two definitely, major moves. Another situation that was, a pretty just kind of I don't even know what to say. Just a strange situation with Tennessee and Greg Schiano, the current defensive coordinator for Ohio State, and there were talks about him going to Tennessee, and there was a huge boycott Sunday afternoon from the fans saying, with the allegations of him knowing what happened with Sandusky, and that they were not comfortable with him, even the consideration of him being hired for the Tennessee job. So what were your thoughts on the situation and just how haywire it was.
I think this is like the first time in a long time the university actually listens to the students and the fans. They really didn't want that face. I don't think. I think they took it in consideration of the background that Shianos was coming from with Penn State being there, and I think they took that in consideration. But they thought he was a great coach, and then the backlash kind of like shine light, like okay, if our fans, if our students don't want him here, then it's going to be a bad look if we keep him here. So I think they hired him the first that day, and they fired. They said they took away the deal, the contract the same day. I think in a matter of 2 hours. So I think this is the first time the university actually listened to the students and the players and the fans for once, and that they didn't want it. I mean, I don't think it was proven. It was. I
Yeah,
think it was
that's
a
kind of my
story.
thing. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't proven, and like how can you really judge somebody if the evidence hasn't come out that he was actually knew of that and uh was associated with it.
Well, how can you not know that happened?
Well, yeah, most definitely. But just to say that I, he wasn't found, guilty of anything in the matter. Definitely the people who were there, I think, knew it. So that's kind of, the issue there, which, I can definitely understand it. If he knows it and doesn't bring it to attention, that's a major issue.
Well, I think his name is Mike McQueary. Testified that the coach Tom Bradley told Michiano said that he saw Sandusky abusing a young boy and never reported on it to the proper authorities, of course. I think it was McQueary said something. I quote: "Greg had some came into his office white as ghost and said he just saw Jerry doing something to a boy in the shower." Unquote. McQueary said. So I mean, if it's a sticky situation, and for Tennessee to already be in a bad light right now because they've been on probably a 5-year losing season, even with Joshua Dobbs. So they don't want to be in the fire with their fans even more by bringing in somebody who's not uh, guilty in the situation, but the allegations alone is enough for you to be like put your hands up. You know what?
Right.
I don't know about this, but I think John Gruden is up for the position. I'm not sure he's going to take it though, but yeah, I'm pretty sure they're going to find another coach that can
Most
uh, that can help out the university.
most definitely. And that's a very difficult situation. Obviously, both sides have, their point of view, and the fans, they don't want to, having Tennessee already in a bad light, they don't want to have something that even, increases that.
Yeah.
With dealing with a few other coaches, my last question with this topic is there another big coaching move you see happening? I know like Jimbo Fisher's in the hearings, maybe with Texas A&M and
Right.
Kevin Sumlin with Arizona State. I think even Herm Edwards interviewed
Yep.
for the Arizona State job. Is there another one you think that's going to be a big coaching move in the next couple of weeks?
I think you just said it. Herm Edwards coming out of retirement. Big
Really,
time Chiefs head coach for a long time, and he's old school. And I think I
he
had a
is.
conversation with one of my friends about it. It's like I'm surprised that Arizona State wants the old school mentality because they switched up their style. I think they run a 4-3 defense now. They're pro set and sometimes they go in a spread offense. So I think Herm Edwards would bring that that tenacity toward for them and bring that old school vibe. The old school. He doesn't play the radio. I've watched him on ESPN countless times, and he does not play the radio. He didn't play the radio with the Chiefs, so I think that's what they need right now. Arizona State hasn't been a big team ever, in my opinion, ever been a big team, and go for the national championship. But maybe Herm Edwards is that guy to bring it out of them and bring an old school mentality to a new school.
Most definitely, and that would be a very interesting move. Um, with the upcoming, conference championship games, you got Miami, Clemson in the ACC, Auburn, Georgia in the SEC, uh, Oklahoma, TCU in the Big 12, Ohio State, Wisconsin in the Big 10, even USC, Stanford in the Pac-12 tomorrow. Is What are your thoughts on some of the games and maybe the keys to wins for the team you think that win?
Do or die.
Yeah,
Do or die. I think that's the slogan or fine print, do or die for a lot of teams. I think I'll start with Georgia and Auburn. I think Auburn should. I don't know if Johnson will be completely healthy, so they're gonna have to depend on the defense to stop Georgia and Nick Chubbs and Michelle. They have to stop the run game. The quarterback is not going to do much. They beat them before. Just don't expect to beat them the same way. You have to replan. You have to rethink things. You can't. It's hard to beat a team twice, and I've been told that all my life throughout football. It's hard to beat a team twice. Georgia's going to come out with a different mentality. They're hungry. They're angry. They're mad. If they beat Auburn, they move into the playoff picture. Okay, we're going to move to TCU, Oklahoma. It's going to be a shootout.
Yeah.
Who can score the most? Both of those defenses are extremely terrible. Who's going to score the most? I think that's the headline for them.
Kenny Hill has to outduel Baker Mayfield for them to have a shot, and TCU has to have just a stellar performance.
Yeah,
defensively.
I agree. I definitely agree because we know Baker Mayfield and Oklahoma Sooners is going to put up numbers. They put up numbers against West Virginia last week, 59-31. So we know they can put up numbers. The defense can hold off at the end. They always do. It's so bizarre that they hold off at the end and then they keep scoring. It's a crazy thing. I think it's their formula. They know their defense is not strong enough. But now, if they do beat them and they move to play a team in the SEC, can a defense and offense withstand that? Because we've seen it before. Oklahoma struggles with SEC teams. Yes. Miami Clemson, big game. It's a huge game. ACC championship. Miami hasn't been an ACC championship in forever. This is different. They just lost to Pitt. They're you have the tail between the legs. What can they do? I think the headline is, can Clemson defensive line well, I had a slogan. Can the Clemson defensive line kill the rush game? Okay. Because we saw that the quarterback was.
I was feeling like you were going to say BYOG. The bring your own guts slogan by Dabo Swinney.
Man, that is crazy. But yeah, I mean, Riser has to be not Riser.
Rozier.
Thank
Rozier,
you.
Yeah, he's got to be more accurate. If Clemson shuts down the run, it's gonna come down to, can Rozier be accurate and consistent against I think the best defensive line in the country.
Well, the first 5 games they were. I don't know what they're doing now. It's I think they're human. I think the kryptonite came in a little bit. But they're still good. I'm not going to take anything away from Clemson's defensive line. They're still good. But I think that's the headline. Can Rozier be accurate enough? Because the wide receivers get open. They can make plays. But he has to be accurate down the field. And I think the last but not least, I think the one that is going to be extremely important, it's going to be Ohio State, Wisconsin. I think the headline should be, can Wisconsin pray enough?
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. Because Wisconsin prayed to be in the playoff picture. We're undefeated, but our schedule's weak. We're in here, but we're in the championship conference game. Can we beat a team with a broken leg? Because they don't have their starter quarterback in JT Barrett. Can they beat a team with a broken leg?
Well, he is going to play.
But he's not healthy. He's not 100% healthy.
He's playing, but not, to his, 100%. Yeah.
It's inability. I'm going to see if that's going to plague him. Because, I mean, if JT Barrett is not healthy, that offense is going to struggle. Because it starts with him. Like I say, he's a great time manager.
Even a more, interesting game. Like, in terms of interesting, I mean, like, closer game. If he's not, if it shows, okay, he's not right. Like, if you can see from the early start of the early parts of the game that, okay, he's not himself and the offense is kind of stagnant.
Well, I think so. I believe so. Because JT Barrett is a dual threat. So he doesn't run as much as he used to from a year ago or the year before when they had Cardale Jones and Braxton Miller. But he has that ability to run. And you have to look out for that. So the defensive scheme is going to change for him if he's not completely healthy. They can run a cover two, or they can blitz them. They can do different packages now. Now they don't have to be, send four and hopefully they get there. Now the defensive coordinator can bring a different package in. They can do different things because he's not 100% healthy. Just like Syracuse did with Kelly Bryant. He wasn't completely healthy. They blitzed him. They did different coverages to knock him off his game, and they end up knocking him out the game. So I think Wisconsin will try to do the same thing with JT Barrett. But if JT is not completely healthy, it's going to be a struggle for the offense completely, because we don't know what the backup's going to do, to be honest.
Okay, in a short just summary, who overall? I mean, in these games, who do you have winning?
It's interesting. Okay, let's start with Miami and Clemson. I have Miami winning.
Okay.
I have Miami winning by a touchdown or field goal. Miami's defense is playing on all kinds of levels. I've never seen Miami play. I mean, the stats doesn't show a lot. Defense at 47th in rushing, 44th in passing. But because Wisconsin holds number 1 and number 2 in those categories because they don't really play anybody. But Miami's defense is stingy. They're tenacious. They're nasty. They get off the ball. They have the turnover chain. They have the most turnover, I believe, in NCAA. I think their defense will stop Kelly Bryant in that offense. So I have them winning by a touchdown, by 3. Probably maybe 17-10, something like that. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game, though.
Interesting.
Ohio State, Wisconsin. I have Ohio State punching it out, even though Wisconsin has number 1 and number 2. I mean, 1 in rushing and number 2 in passing. But I just don't think they play anybody enough to be, sustain them in the game. I think it's going to be a close game, but I give it to Ohio State winning. Georgia and Auburn. This is tough. This is tough, Wellington.
Really?
This is really tough because they played before.
Yeah. And the thing is, can they do it again? Can they shut down the run like they did the last game? And that's going to be beating a team twice is going to be extremely difficult.
It is. And any player, any coach, any reporter will tell you beating a team twice is extremely difficult. But I think Auburn can do it.
Yeah.
I don't believe enough in Fromm.
That's my thing. Enough. That's really my thing. I'm just not convinced on 3rd and 6s. That it was my same thing a couple weeks ago. Can he be efficient on 3rd down when they need him the most? And he didn't show that. Yeah,
he did not at all. But if Johnson's not completely healthy, I think they have enough. It just depends on Stidham. He has to have a good game. He has to throw for at least 250. Has to. Defense is going to show up. Their defense is going to show up. But he has to.
Their defense always shows up.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think it's going to be. Oh, hold up. I think it's extremely difficult for the Georgia defense to stand up. They were shutting out teams in the beginning of the year. They were playing great, and now they just kind of mellowed out. Mm-hmm. And I think it started with Auburn.
Yeah.
Now, it's another thing. Georgia's offensive line play big now? Because they were a problem when Auburn played them. They were giving up sacks. They were getting beat off the line of scrimmage, the point of attack. They were getting mollywopped. So can the offense redeem themselves? Redemption time. It's redemption. It's do or die. So I have Auburn winning in that because I'm a believer in the SEC, even though this is SEC championship. But I give it to Auburn.
Yeah. And Oklahoma TCU, you have Oklahoma?
No, I got an upset.
Yeah, TCU. Okay.
I'm gonna give it to TCU upset to make it interesting.
Yeah.
If Oklahoma loses, Bama in.
Things get very interesting. And I mean, yeah, and that's the thing. If these upper echelon teams lose, Alabama has a shot to get in, and that's going to be a great conference championship weekend, and it should be some really good games. Transitioning to the NFL, Eli Manning was benched in favor of Geno Smith. He's going to be starting next Sunday, and it broke a streak of, I think, the second most consecutive starts in NFL history by a quarterback. And I think he's just right behind his brother, and what he was right behind his brother in that streak. It had to uproar a lot of people in the NFL. Former and current players disagreed with it. What were your thoughts on it?
About time.
Yeah.
About time. We've talked about this a couple of times. Like I think I named 3 quarterbacks that I thought it was time for them to give up the reins, and one was Eli, Joe Flacco, and Andy Dalton. I think those guys. It's time for those guys to get off the crapper. It's time for them to get off, move, let somebody else. But starting Geno though, it was
Yeah.
kind of like
That's what kind of decreases it, because I'm like, hey, this is they need to start moving in a different direction. But the fact that it was Geno Smith, it made it feel a lot different in terms of just moving on from him, because that is pretty. You're going to a pretty low depth in terms of Geno Smith. You know what I mean? You really are going into a pretty low depth when you're stooping, to that extent. So I mean, that's
I'm
what.
like, what else can you do? They're
Yeah.
26 in rushing on an offense, and they're 23rd in passing. They're at the tail end. They need something. They need a spark. Maybe Geno being benched in Jets, and then Jets releasing him, moving him away, then you go into Giants. Maybe I'm sitting behind Eli or sitting and recollecting his thoughts. Maybe it will spark something in Geno, because Geno's not a bad quarterback. He's not a bad quarterback. He's
Yeah.
extremely accurate. He has a big arm. He's just his mentality is not there yet. Maybe sitting behind someone and being a towel boy will bring that tenacity mentality back in him that we saw at West Virginia for those 2 years, and him breaking massive records.
Yeah.
So he's not a bad quarterback. I think Eli is more. He's so inconsistent, and everybody's like, oh well, Eli's going to be Eli. Tom Coughlin's not the head coach anymore. Ben McAdoo is. So it's time. I think it's time to get him out of there. Or do this to spark something. Eli, maybe Eli or play better.
Yeah.
Because they gave him the weapons. They went out and got weapons for him. They got some more offensive
They
linemen.
have one of the most talented wide receiver arsenals in all of football. And
Well, it doesn't help that all of those guys are hurt as well.
exactly. No, yeah, exactly. But I'm just saying, like, you look on paper, I was surprised at this, but a lot of people were picking. A few people were picking the Giants to win the NFC East coming into the season. I wasn't convinced, but that they did have a lot of talent on the offensive side.
You never know who's going to show up, what Eli is going to show up.
Yeah.
And I think that's the
Is it going to
most
be
detrimental
a
thing to the
wild
offense.
card going on a Super Bowl run Eli, or is it going to be 6-10 Eli? So that's kind of the dynamic you're dealing with him, and he just hasn't been consistent. It's been erratic outside of those 2 Super Bowl runs.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we always give Eli the benefit of the doubt. Oh, they don't have a rush game. Or their offensive line is sure. Or he doesn't have any weapons. Or the defense is not doing their job. When do we look at Eli? I think they're looking at him now. When do we look at Eli and say Eli is not a top tier quarterback? Because if you hear any talks about who's the best quarterback in the league, it's never Eli Manning in the discussion. Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. It's always Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. Sometimes it's Ben Roethlisberger. Drew Brees pops in every now and again. Phillip Rivers. It's never Eli Manning. It's never Joe Flacco. It's never Andy Dalton. It's never any of those guys. So it's time. Hands up. Wipe your hands off. Drop the mic. Walk outside. It's time.
Yeah, it definitely was, and I mean, I'm aware that it caused uproar, but at the same time, it's like, what, you got to do something. This was a disastrous season, and the decision that they decided was best for the team. Aqib Talib and Michael Crabtree were in a heated brawl Sunday. Both were ejected. Originally, the suspension was 2 games, but it got reduced to 1 for both. They've had a history of going at it with against each other, and it's been always very heated when they play. What were your thoughts on just the fiasco that happened between them?
I think it was a respect thing more than anything
Really?
because Talib is continuing to break the man's chain. He's talking, he's jabbering, he's taking shots, and I think Crabtree got tired of it. It was like a respect thing. You're gonna respect me. You don't have to like me, but you're gonna respect me. And I think Talib has to respect Crabtree after that little stint brawl because Crabtree looked so calm and collected, swinging those hands on the
Yeah.
field. Like he wasn't like irate. He wasn't like super mad. He got mad. He was more irate on the sideline after they pulled each other off. But his face was very like he already planned to do this, whether he broke
Yeah.
his chain or not. Because if you look at the play, he was driving. He was blocking him, and then when the chain got broken, then it went to overdrive. He was like, "Well, I've been waiting for this an entire season. It's going to happen now." But for I think it should have been handled outside of football, of course, because now you look bad. The league looks bad. Both teams look bad. Head coaches, players, everything looks bad. But it's football. You're gonna have these scuffles and brawls and different type of things. Because you look back in the day, they were tenacious. They used to punch each other on the field, punch each other in the pals. They didn't poke each other in the eye. So now I think it's what can you say? It's football. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
say it's football. It's part of the game.
Yeah, and it definitely was was something that I think the league reviewed and decreased it to one game, and so they probably had different thoughts on the scuffle. So yeah, that was a very interesting development. The Kansas City Chiefs, they started out the season looking like the front runner in the AFC. 5-0. They beat New England. They beat Philadelphia. The two best teams in the league right now, and now they've lost 5 of their last 6, and they're going just going through a nosedive and really not playing the level that they were playing at the start of the season. And Alex Smith, had the best passer rating at the beginning of the season. Now he's completely fallen off the map, and the offense is not producing as much as they were. Kareem Hunt isn't as playing as well. What are your thoughts on how they've diminished these past 5 or 6 weeks?
I think I think it's a different scheme, and I think people are adjusting to the offense of the Chiefs because when coming in, we knew who Tyreek Hill was last year, so they knew how to play him, but they didn't know who Kareem Hunt was. They didn't know if he was going to be first time he got in, he fumbled. Who's going to worry about that kid? And then after that, he kept in there the 5 games, they're undefeated, they have a buzz, and then they crash and burn. And then we
Yeah,
see Alex Smith can do it by himself. The running game actually uplifted that offense. And that of they don't target Kelsey enough. They have one of the best tight ends in the game right now in Kelsey. They don't target him enough. Kareem Hunt is nowhere to be found. He's on vacation. He had a buzz coming in, and now it's gone. I just well, they're 15th in rushing offense. There was number 3 or number 4 coming in for the first 5 games. Kareem Hunt was leading the pack in rushing, not in number 13 in passing offense. And then the defense is nowhere to be found either. The defense has played horrible. They're almost dead last in both categories of passing and defense, 29 and 28. So that's where they are. The offense is not playing good. They don't. The running game is not there anymore. We know Alex Smith can't do it by himself. We saw that in San Francisco. The defense is not coming out. They got injuries on both sides. Eric Berry's out for the season. So that's where they're at. We didn't expect them to beat the Patriots the first game. They were getting blown out. Then they came back for some way, somehow, Kareem Hunt.
yeah,
So they don't got that fire. They don't have that swagger anymore. The little poof fairy dust that they had in the first 5 games.
yeah,
So that's where they're at. That's where they're losing because they're everybody's shining it off, wiping it off. Oh, okay, this is still the Kansas City Chiefs at the end of
yeah.
the day. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
most definitely, and that's kind of the thing. It's like with Kansas City, they start they can have really good starts in this season at one point in the season, and then later they they diminish and they don't play to the same standard. Especially Alex Smith. We're kind of wondering, okay, is Alex Smith finally going to break the mold of what we thought of him as just a game manager? And now he's kind of, how he's been playing, it's resorted back to that same stigma, and that's been a huge issue for them. With Duke in college basketball, they're 9-0. They beat they had a bit of a scare last night against Indiana, and they were able to pull it out on the road. And they won the PK 80 tournament, pulling out a win against Florida. And Marvin Bagley, he's just been great, averaging 22 points, 11 assists. Even Wendell Carter Jr. had a good game against Indiana last night. And do you think Duke? I know it's really early, but do you think Duke is the most complete team in the nation right now?
I do not. I'm not big on Duke for some reason. I'm just not big on Duke. I think I think they can find a way to win. I think they have good team chemistry, but I don't think they're the most complete team. To be honest, I think if a team, it's got it, because the last 3 games they have to come back to win, and most people think, okay, well they're all around, so if they're down, they can come back and win. But I don't know. I'm not convinced yet that they're all around team. I think Florida is, even when they don't have big men or they don't have the points in the paint. They shoot the lights out.
Duke was able to find a way to get a win against Florida.
I know. That's why I think Florida is more of an all-around team. But I think Duke can go on runs and have the good team chemistry enough to do that. Because Grayson Allen is a senior. There are a couple of guys who've been there for a minute. They have the chemistry.
Right.
Now, I mean, that doesn't mean they're all-around team. But they find a way to win. They're number 1 for a reason. 9-0 for a reason.
Yeah.
But if you want to, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like when Duke was playing man-to-man against Florida, Florida was absolutely just bulldozing through them. When Duke turned to zone, when they started playing zone, it really slowed down the Florida offense. They're perimeter based. They're one of the best three-point shooting teams in the nation. That kind of decrease. And, for me, it really seems like Marvin Bagley's that type of player that you literally just cannot – when he's going to score, he's going to score. Like, to me, he seems like the type of guy you literally just cannot stop. And when you have a player like that with a team that has a great experienced player in Grayson Allen, like if they don't have Grayson Allen, they're not as good this year. Because this is a young team, and you need an experienced player like Grayson Allen. You can even tell when he's not on the court in late game situations. He was fouled out against Portland State, and Duke was still able to find a way to win that game without him in overtime. So to me, it just shows that even though they were behind in 3 instances, this is a young team that grew up in that PK 80 tournament, finding ways to win. That's what's so impressive to me, that they were able to find ways to win, and having an experienced player like Grayson Allen, who is going to make big shots in late game situations. They absolutely look to me like the most complete team in the nation.
That's an interesting point of view, Wellington. They're all I just don't see it. I don't.
You don't see it. So you would say Florida.
I would. I'm definitely biased because I love Florida through and through, and I think that game should have been won by the Gators. And I think you made a great point when they went to the 2-3 zone and 3-2 zone. They kind of made Florida shoot. They crashed down more, and then they weren't getting open shots. They were contested. So I think that was a great point of view that you made. But I just don't see them being all around to me.
Yeah.
But tomato.
Yeah, interesting. Definitely. We're gonna skip the topic we were going to talk about. We kind of had some confusions about that. We're gonna go to the NBA with the news about Derrick Rose. He came out talking about that the injuries, the constant injuries, have taken a mental toll on him, and he's really reconsidering his future in playing basketball. the fact that this was an MVP at one point 6 years ago in Chicago, and ever since that ACL injury against the Philadelphia 76ers in the first round, it's been completely different. This has been a different player, and it's been just a hodgepodge of injuries and recovery and over again the process with this entire situation and how he's had to deal with it. What are your thoughts on it?
I feel where he's coming from, to be honest. If you were on top of the world and you're one of the best players coming out of Memphis, wasn't drafted really high. Nobody really knew who he was. He was a good player at Memphis, but we didn't know what type of player he was going to be. Then he showed up. He was the MVP. And then you get hurt, and you continue to get hurt from ankles to knees to whatever the injury may be. And then you feel like it takes a toll on your mental because you were on top of the world. You was the best player, one of the best players in the NBA, and you were the leader of a great team and a great organization with history. And it takes a toll on you, and you try to figure out life out of basketball, life out of any type of sport. And I think that's where he's at right now. If I can't be healthy, then I don't want to make it worse after basketball. I think he's contemplating that to a point where it's like, is it worth it? Is it continue to worth the risk? And I say yes. Stay in, Derrick Rose. You have $80 million more in your Adidas contract. Yeah, I think you have $3-4 million with the Cavaliers. So stay in there, buddy. Hang in there, buddy.
You're playing with the best player in the world.
Yeah, you can get a ring. We want you to get a ring before you get out of here.
And for us, for me, I feel like that's our natural inclination because we look at it and we're like, man, like look at the contract deal you have on the table with Adidas, and look at the fact that you're playing with the best player in the world and you have a chance to compete for a title finally again. But there's something about your peace of mind that you can't compromise. And for him, I really feel like that's where he's at. He's like, I get all of that. I understand the implications. I understand the money that's on the table, but there's something about peace of mind that he doesn't want to compromise. And I think that's kind of what he's battling with right now.
Yeah, and I agree. That's what he's definitely battling with. But I think he should have contemplated this before he left or before he even went to the Knicks.
So you think after New York? After New York.
Yeah, I think even before New York.
Yeah.
Because he was optimistic about going to New York to be with Carmelo and be with Joe Noah that he played with for, I think, 3 to 4 seasons. Probably more than that. And I think that's where you should contemplate, like, okay, I'm going to a new team. They're taking a chance on me. What if it doesn't work? It didn't work out. I think he got hurt in that season, too. And that's where I think, and then after that, you should have sat down and like, okay, it's basketball my forte anymore. Then you go to the Cavaliers, you're doing good. He doesn't even dunk anymore to make sure he doesn't get hurt. Then he gets an ankle injury. Yeah. So I think you should have contemplated the decision before you came to Cavaliers. But that's just me. I'm not saying, that's his decision and his perspective. But I think him trying to refocus and understand that maybe I don't have it anymore, or my body is telling me I don't have it anymore, should have been before the Cavaliers.
Yeah, and it's that's definitely a very good point. David Fizdale was the latest coach in the NBA to be fired from Memphis, and they were had lost about maybe 7 or 8 straight. They were really struggling. They kind of got off to an underachieving start. I know Mike Conley. There was an injury. Is Mike Conley still out?
Yep, they're not playing.
Yeah, and so that was a factor with some of that, and obviously the clash with him and Marc Gasol, them not seeing eye to eye on the same page. To me, it's surprising. I really felt like he had put the team in a good direction, especially last year when they were in probably one of the most competitive series against the Spurs in a really good 6-game series where they were able to push the Spurs. And it was very interesting because like when we have these player coach feuds, the players always win. And
Hmm.
the latest one I think about, I know this isn't as high profiled. Remember Darren Williams and Jerry Sloan
Hmm.
back in Utah and the feud that
Yeah.
they had, and Darren Williams got the benefit of the doubt. And so that to me that's really what happens in situations like this. What were your thoughts on this firing?
Well, I mean, it's time to shake it up. If you win your first game, then all the other games they're not bad wins. They're close. They're really close. They're not like 20, 30 points off. It's still a close
Yeah,
game. But you have Mario Chalmers out, Mike Conley's out, Chandler Parsons is out, who leads in 3-point percentage was 48%. So, I mean, it's different pieces going, they're out. What can you do? Marcus Gasol is leading every single stat on the team. Well, not every single one. He's leading points per game, rebounds per game, assists per game, free throw percentage, blocks. I mean, he can't do them all by himself. And I think Memphis has been in a slump since Rudolph, and they used to go deep in the playoffs. If you remember, they used to compete.
yeah, they did.
Now they're not at the same level anymore. I think that's where you start looking
Remember,
ahead.
remember a few years ago when the Warriors were on their first run and they were actually down in Memphis 2-1,
Yeah,
and the Warriors said that was one of their most competitive, challenging series they had in their last three playoff runs.
yeah. Zach Rudolph. They had
Ray
OJ
Allen.
Mayo, Rudy Gay. They had all those guys on the team in Memphis, and they used to attack people. They
Yeah,
used to go. They used to go deep into the playoffs, and now they're trying to get back to the glory days. And I think it starts with the head. You got to chop the head off and grow another one.
yeah.
But yeah, I think it was a good. Well, did they fire? Did they hire another coach yet?
Not from what I've
Yeah,
heard.
I
No.
haven't, I haven't heard any buzz or anything yet.
Yeah.
So they
So
fired the coach without a backup plan. Oh well, it's NBA,
yeah,
ladies and gentlemen.
yeah. That is the state of the NBA, um and it definitely was a huge headline. Um, so the Cleveland Cavaliers have been playing pretty well. Um, they're on a 9 game winning streak. LeBron has been fantastic, and but before we get to that, LeBron's played 15 years, right?
Yep.
And he's never had an ejection, but that
Nope.
changed Tuesday night. He got his first ejection. Rarely happens with LeBron. Like he was even saying that. Look, he felt like he was getting fouled the entire time going down the court on that possession. What did you think about him? Do you think it's tough for officials to officiate him? Because Kyle Korver said, look, when the difference between playing with LeBron and playing against LeBron is when you're playing against him, you think, man, that guy gets a call every time, and then when you're playing with him, you're like, man, he never gets a call. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, that's logical to be
Yeah,
honest, because when you're playing on another team, you don't really see the hand slapping or whatever. You just see your fellow teammate trying his best to defend a monster his name is LeBron James. When your team is like, hey man, what they foul him every time because to be honest, LeBron James does get fouled every single time if you want to go by the standards of the NBA rules.
yeah,
I mean, I know it's not fair. He's 6'8", it's like 265 coming. He probably runs a 4.4 in the 40 if he ran it. The guy is a monster, and you're gonna foul him. He's gonna bump into you. He's gonna use his body. He's a smart player, so I'm pretty sure he definitely gets fouled every single time he goes to the lane. Every
yeah.
time. I don't care what anyone says. He gets fouled every single time, and it gets frustrating when you get that and you don't get the call. I mean, they're really killing me down here. They're out here, slandering my body.
Yeah.
So I think it's the heat of the moment too. So I don't know. And then the referee's explanation was kind of funny to me.
Yeah, yeah, and that it happens. It's gonna happen eventually. And so that was very interesting. But dealing with how he's been playing, um, he's been fantastic this 9 game winning streak, scoring I think 23 or more in the fourth for a couple of the games. Um, in terms of Kyrie leaving and the onus being on LeBron, do you think that's had an impact on how well he's been playing this this 9 game winning streak, or is it
Excuse me.
just the fact that look, LeBron's still the best player in the world? He's incredible.
LeBron's been doing this forever. I don't
Yeah.
think him leaving, Kyrie leaving, had any effect on LeBron's play because we talked about this before. LeBron's going to do what he has to do, and he feels like if he doesn't have to, he's not going to. That's the type of player LeBron is. He fills out the situation of the game. If he has to be a leader, if he has to be the guy, the enforcer, he's going to be that guy. But if he has to be a facilitator, he will. I think he was more of a facilitator when Kyrie's there because he was trying to build Kyrie's mentality up. Because Kyrie's is the best scorer in the game right now by far. Let's be honest. He's the best scorer, best finisher at the rack, best ball handler as well. Let's throw that in there.
Yeah.
Let's give him a trifecta. But I think LeBron's play has not changed. He still can put up 40 points, 9 rebounds, 10 assists, or whatever you want to flip flop. I think more so now he understands like, okay, I don't have the guys like I used to have. I got OD Wade, I got Derrick Rose is contemplating retirement. I have Isaiah Thomas trying to come back in December. I have Tristan Thompson out. He was out for a
Wade's been
month.
playing well.
Wade has been playing well, but Wade is not,
Not
flash.
the same Dwayne Wade. Yeah.
He's not Flash anymore. He flashes a little bit.
Yeah.
He flashes the greatness that he used to be, but he's not there at the point. LeBron's still there. LeBron's all in. He's playing poker. And he understands that the situation now. So now I have to play every game, 82 games on high motor. Because some guys take games off. I mean, Kevin Love had 38 points on what day was that? He had 38 points, 17 free throws.
I think it's Miami on Tuesday.
Yeah, I think it was Miami. He had 38 points. So he takes games off, but he has to play every single game now because we don't know. Iman Shumpert didn't even play against Miami,
Right.
and we don't know what J.R. Smith we're going to get. If J.R. Smith makes the first three, it's going to be a great night.
It is.
If he misses, oh baby.
Yeah, like his game 5 against Golden State was like incredible. Surprisingly, like he had 26 and he was just making all these threes, and you're like, man, I wish we could have this J.R. Smith like all the time.
All the time. When he's on, he's the best shooter ever. But if he misses, he's going to take some time to warm up, and it's probably going to be too late. It's going to probably be the fourth quarter with 2 minutes left, and he's going to shoot about 10 threes and try to bring it back. It's going to be too late.
Yeah.
But to go back to is Kyrie Irving's absence changing LeBron's game? No. I think LeBron has always been a scorer. He's an all-around basketball player, so you get different attributes in different games. And I think now with them going on a 9-game winning streak, you get an enforcer because he's shooting threes. He's shooting more threes. He loves that spot on the wing, the left side. He's driving in the hole more. He's not looking to pass all the time. He's looking to score. So I think he's right now. If you could shift him to a different player, he's Michael Jordan right now. He's playing like Mike.
Yeah. How much is it just me, or has LeBron's stack 3 become so much more efficient?
He's worked on it the past 3 years.
Yeah. I mean, like think about even some of the last possessions. No, but the thing about hello?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I was saying, think about some of the last possessions in that Game 7 against Golden State in the 2016 finals where he had like, I think maybe 3 step back threes against Festus Ezeli. One, he baited him, but the other 2 he just knocked down. And it just looks like he's even the one against New York a couple weeks ago. He's become so comfortable with that shot.
Yeah, he had. Oh, wow. He has. And I think when he first came into the league, he wasn't a big 3-point shooter, but he can shoot the 3. And I think when his game went on, he started driving, he started being a force and a facilitator. I think he didn't want to shoot the three, or he wasn't comfortable shooting three. Now he he shot like a long three, top of the key, behind one of his
Oh
players.
yeah,
If yeah, it was behind one of his players, and he knocked it down. Like I
yeah,
was like, okay, LeBron's very, he's okay, LeBron. You shoot, but no, you can't shoot like that. But
right.
I think he's having fun. He's
Those are
more
Steph
confident in his
shots.
shot now. Huh?
Those are Steph shots.
Yeah, most definitely. And
But
no look shots. That's Steph. Let Steph
yeah,
do that.
yeah. So yeah, definitely. He just even though I think the onus is more on him in the fact that he doesn't have um in Isaiah Thomas or a Kyrie like he had last year. Even when he had Dwayne Wade in Miami, he had that second guy, and now he's really like having the onus on him. But LeBron is LeBron. He's still exhibited consistency these 15 seasons, and he's continued to show it. Um, with Blake Griffin, he had an MCL injury against the Lakers, and he's probably going to be out for 2 months for the recovery. How big? I mean, the Clippers, it's just injury galore. Patrick Beverly, Teodosic, it's just on and on. Do you think this puts the nail in the coffin for the Clipper season? Like, how do you think this impacts them?
It impacts him a lot because you look at it. Blake Griffin was the guy. He was the man now.
Yeah,
So now the man that you gave him the reins of the team. Now he's out for I think 2 months. It wasn't a big. I don't think he did anything really bad to it to the MCL. Now I think who do you have left to be that guy? And he just mentioned a couple players that was hurt. So I mean that it hurts him a lot. Blake Griffin is a presence on rebounds. I mean you still have Jordan, but Blake Griffin was more versatile. You
yes,
know, Jordan's he's gonna go up for a dunk or alley hoop and get you some rebounds. But Blake Griffin was shooting threes now. He was backing people down. He was, picking up the ball, dribbling it, trying to create shots for himself. We haven't seen that from Blake Griffin from when he first came into the league. Now they try to mold him into that guy. Now that guy's gone. So what's next for your team for the next 2 months? You're out. You're without him with the next 2 months. Let me pose a question. Do you think they can win games without Blake Griffin?
no,
No
it's
pause, no hesitation. No.
no. I really just don't see it because they don't like even if they had Teodosic, they would have uh, a very good distributor at the point guard position. They don't even have Patrick Beverly now. Um, I just really think they're going to struggle finding ways to win games. It's really going to be a struggle for them to consistently win a high percentage of games without Blake Griffin because that's their guy now. That is their guy, and the fact that he's out, and like you said, DeAndre Jordan, he's a predictable big man. He's not versatile. He doesn't have the same skill set and an array that Blake Griffin has, and I think this significantly hurts them.
Yeah, I think so too because I don't think Austin Rivers is enough at the point lead or the two guard. Uh, you're gonna have to put Lou
Has
into the
Austin
starting
Rivers ever
lineup.
been enough? Has Austin Rivers ever been enough?
No, not even with the Pelicans.
Yeah,
What did he? What team did Austin Rivers play for in college? Was it Duke?
yeah, Duke, yeah,
It was Duke. Okay, it was Duke. He was okay at Duke. He wasn't. He's okay now. I think the only
yeah,
reason why he's at the Clippers is because of his dad. To be honest, let's
yeah,
be honest.
yeah.
But I don't think he's enough at
It's
the
true.
point.
We don't admit it, but it's true.
Yeah, yeah. My dad's the head coach, so yeah. So I don't think that you're gonna have to put Lou in the starting lineup. I know
Yeah,
Lou is coming off the bench, and
you're
they
gonna need
like him coming off the bench.
that offensive output that he can provide.
Yeah, he's gonna have to suck it up and and do something in the starting lineup because I'm looking at the depth chart and the players they have on the bench. They're not enough. So
Yeah,
yeah, I don't think they can win without Blake, especially without your best defender and Patrick Beverly. Yeah, forget about it.
yeah. It really has been a devastating injury for them. Is there anything else in the NBA that stood out to you? That has stood out to you?
Not really, to be honest.
OKC is 8-20. I mean 8-12.
Yeah.
That's
I know we didn't get to talk about the game, the OKC versus Warriors
Golden.
game.
Yeah, yeah.
That was a
Um,
good game.
it was, and for me, it just it was one of those things you could see Westbrook was he was very animated every time he was able to guard Durant. Um, the how well I mean how tightly contested he was guarding him defensively. And for me, it was one of those things where it looked like Russell Westbrook of last season, where he's like, I'm not waiting for anybody else to get involved in this game. I'm going to set the tempo. I'm going to be aggressive. And it was one of his best performances, like, of the season. And for Golden State, it was one of those things where, look, like, you could tell, like, the hostility toward Durant was so high in last February. It was nowhere near to where it was last Wednesday, because it was new. And like Golden State, they wanted to defend Durant, and they wanted to play at an extremely high level and contribute to him having a big game, which he did. But this game, it was different. Westbrook was aggressive from the start. Paul George, Carmelo, they were playing well offensively, and it was one of their most complete performances from an offensive and defensive perspective.
Yeah, it definitely was. And then after that performance, you would think they would have the hot hand.
Yeah, you kind of felt like it would be it would originate something that was gonna be a good streak.
And then they're on a 3-game losing streak.
Yeah,
One for being, Paul George in a shooter slump, and then Russell Westbrook is battling hand injury. He just had X-rays on that the other day, and I think I think he practiced yesterday. And I believe he's gonna play. But Orlando's 9-13, and they beat OKC 121-108.
yeah.
I remember you posed a question earlier in the season about the Pistons and the
It's the Pistons.
Magics. Just the Pistons?
No, I'm saying between the two, I would say the Pistons have been like more impressive. Like Andre Drummond, like his improvement has been drastic. Like the performance he had in Boston, I think 26 points, 16 rebounds, like six assists. Like he had like an extreme. It may have been like 20 rebounds, but he had an extremely good game. And to me, like his progression, I'm not taking anything away from Orlando, but his progression has been so big for Detroit.
Yeah, it has. And I mean,
And
don't
even the
sleep
free throw
on
shooting.
Tobias either.
Yeah.
Tobias is a good player from the Magic, actually.
But yeah, what were your thoughts on the just I guess how everything transpired against OKC and Golden State?
Well, I was surprised. I knew it was going to be a battle, but I didn't think OKC was going to win, giving that Paul George is going to shoot a slump. Russell Westbrook, I don't know. He hasn't been Russell Westbrook this season, to me, to be honest. And then Melo on a shooting slump as well. So you got two guys on the shooting slump that's supposed to be the leaders of the team. But I thought it was a good game. I thought Russell Westbrook played phenomenally on defense, and they actually, had a little stint in the court, putting the resting their foreheads on each other.
Yeah.
Which was super funny. But you could tell the intensity of the game in that moment alone. And
They
I
just
don't
love
know.
they just love to compete against each other now. Like what Westbrook and
Yeah,
Durant, they just get up for it. Like it's one of those games they're going to mark on each other's mark on their respective calendars because they're going to get up for those. Like Westbrook can say he didn't get up for that game, but he did. Like he really did get up for that game, and it showed.
yeah, most definitely.
And look, Lakers Warriors, that was an interesting game last night to close it out. Alonzo Ball had 15 points, 10 assists. What were your takeaways for the Lakers in that game?
I mean, the Lakers can be good. I mean, in the beginning of the season, we talked about how good can the Lakers be. I said they were going to be a good sorry, not like a terrible sorry. They're going to be a good sorry
Yeah,
because they're young. they're super young, and they drafted well, I believe, even with the shoot Lonzo Ball. I'm sorry, I had a brain fart,
Oh, no problem.
but they play well. They show they can shoot well. They're pretty good from the 3-point line. I think the bench came out and played phenomenally for it. Clarkson had 21, Randall had 20 points, and they lost by 4 points. So I mean
Steph was
they have
incredible in
the
overtime. Steph was incredible in overtime.
yeah yeah, and they have the potential. That's why I say they're going to be a good star. They're young. They're super young, and this kid, what's his name? I don't think he played. Kuzma. He didn't
Kuzma,
play.
yeah, he didn't play.
He's going
I
to
think
be
he
a
was
good
back.
player.
Yeah, back.
He's going to be good. He's a good player.
Yeah.
But
Like
I
we said,
thought
he's
that they
becoming.
have potential.
Yeah, most definitely. And Brandon Ingram was the standout for me. He can be really good. I know he needs to bulk up, and he is still very skinny. But like the comparisons of him and Kevin Durant, I don't know if I would go that far. But he's become a really good scorer, and
Yeah.
his length is a huge factor to that. So yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Agree.
most definitely. Look, it's been great talking with you again. It's been another good podcast. I'm your host, Wellington Burns, along with my counterpart, Savon Morris. See you
Whoop,
later.
whoop.